So in the last week, the best FNaF game ever launched. No, this isn't up for debate. After Security Breach released, for a while my FNaF hyperfixation kind of went into a coma. The story wasn't engaging to me, I thought that Security Breach was an all-around letdown, and I generally had a much more negative view of the series going forward. And then Ruin came out and changed everything. The game was actually fun for me, and although the story felt more sparse than it was in the main game, the premise actually engaged me. So much so that it sparked me to pick FNaF back up and start doing videos on it. Even still, for months, I've been a naysayer when it comes to Help Wanted 2. Again and again, I would claim that it would be similar to the first Help Wanted, and that it would be a fun collection of minigames with minimal story. And I was mostly right. But in the story that does exist in Help Wanted 2, there lies a sense of intrigue that I haven't felt about this series in a long time. Given people seem confused about the game though, I thought I'd give my opinion on what this game is about and what its story means. So with no further ado, here's my explanation of the story of Help Wanted 2. First, let's break the story down into chunks. In this game, as I said, the lore is limited, but there are some things to pick up on. First, we have some stuff to find in the hub world. Second, we have the subtleties of some of the minigames. And third, we have the endings. 2 of them to be exact. Going in order, let's start with the hub world stuff, namely the opening intro. While the promotional material of this game sets it up as some job training simulator for a Fazbear employee, this game never expressly does that. Instead, the opening intro simply tells you you've been hired by a non-disclosed job at Freddy's, and the game transitions to the main hub world. Keep note of this fact for later. Next up, we have Candy Cadet's stories. There's 2 in this game. The first one involves a family that, quote, missed the most important opportunity in their lives. They were offered a meal of pizzas, drinks, sides, and toys for $49.99, but they refused the deal and they died. The second story is of a girl who got lost in the woods and was lured in by the voice of a witch. She escaped, but with a scar, returning when she's older and more experienced. She meets a young boy who promises to help her defeat the witch. She's lured into a house to rest on the way there, but promptly gets cooked by the witch. I'm gonna be real, I think the first story is mostly a joke or an advertisement for a deal at Freddy's. This does kinda bug me because historically, Candy Cadet either tells you an important story or nothing at all. This would be the first time he doesn't tell us anything important, but I seriously couldn't make any reasonable sense of it. The second story though I feel is much more relevant, but it's a lot less obvious compared to his story in Ruin. There are multiple interpretations for the story, so I'll lay them out for you. One of them is that the girl is Vanessa, the witch is the Mimic, and the little boy is Gregory. The story would go that Vanessa was lured in by the friendly voice of the tape girl, only to find it was a trick by Glitch Trap, which led to her getting the scar of the Glitch Trap virus. After being freed by Gregory, they go down together to seal up the Mimic. But then this explanation falls apart from here. We know from Ruin that the 2 of them successfully sealed up the Mimic together, and by the time Gregory guides Cassie to the elevator, Vanessa is still with him, having access to the building mats. In other words, from this, and from the information we learn later in this game, it's likely Vanessa is still alive, and she and Gregory are actually working together. So I'm going to put this explanation aside for now. The second explanation is that the girl is Cassie, the witch's Mimic, and the boy is Gregory. This explanation works for the most part. Cassie fell for the friendly voice of the Mimic, only to barely escape its grasp. But other than that, this explanation falls apart too. Gregory helps Cassie escape. He doesn't help her defeat the Mimic. Even then, his help only goes so far, as somebody drops Cassie's elevator back down to where the Mimic was. But for all we know, she didn't really escape the Mimic like the girl escaped the witch in the story. With the third explanation, I realize a lot of our confusion with the Candy Cadet story is the fact that we're not thinking outside of the box. Because we've already seen scenarios where the Mimic lures someone, or a boy and a woman work together to defeat it, we're trying to fit those puzzle pieces in where they're not supposed to. They're a misdirect. Historically, the descriptions of characters in Candy Cadet stories are never really all too significant, best shown in Ruin. What matters is the actual plot details. Something to note is the fact that the Mimic luring someone in has happened at least twice by now in the games. Goes to show that that's just its signature. It's possible this story is about someone else, like Cassie's dad, or someone we don't even know about. The mystery with them would lie in its significance. Why would we care if it's a character we don't know about? So here's my final crackpot theory on what the story means. I personally think Candy Cadet's story could be more tied to the secret ending of this game and its implications. Because of that, I'll leave this explanation for when we actually cover that. Moving on, let's mention the relevant details within the actual minigames. In the Phaser Blast minigames, the Carney mentions that we look like we have kids, perhaps pointing to us playing as an adult, maybe even Cassie's dad. In the minigame with Shattered Roxy, we seem to be a person who went in after the Pizzaplex is already destroyed, and we give Roxy the mask she wears in Ruin. Given the sticky notes in Roxy's salon in Ruin, we know that Cassie's dad likely left at some point and never came back. Maybe he went to the Pizzaplex during this time, and was also the person to give Roxy this mask. Throughout the minigames, different characters speak the same ominous phrase, "What makes you so special?" This quote is used by Moon, Baby, and Mystic Hippo throughout the game, perhaps connecting to the lines in Ruin about Cassie's special day, or referring back to the messages in Security Breach about a technician wanting to prove his worth to the princess. Within these minigames, there are 6 secret plushies you can find by completing specific tasks in specific games. These plushies are unlike the typical character plushies we've seen in the series. Instead, they're stitched up ragdolls with masks of one of the 6 original victims of Afton, the 5 missing children, and the puppet. These plushies are all given to you by a similar styled hand, which is white and gray, and looks stitched up. No, this actually isn't Fanny's hand, as you can see. The stitch work on both of her hands is different. There are a few interesting things about these encounters, however. Most obviously, finding all 6 lets you unlock the secret ending. In the achievement of finding your first plushie, it's referred to as a memory. Something I haven't seen a lot of people point out, however, is that there is a 7th memory we get in the game. In the final level with Baby, she gives us an ice cream cone. Specifically, a similar styled hand emerges from her stomach to hand us the ice cream, as the hands that give us the other memories. Something this could mean that somehow, someway, the spirits of the dead children remain, perhaps even by their own choice, maybe to act as forces of good in the world. Not just the main 5 and Charlie, but even Elizabeth Afton herself, now free from the personality of Baby, at least tries to join them in their efforts. But I'm sure you're all asking, why would these kids be giving us dolls or memories? Well, for that, let's turn to the Stitch Ray Stingers from Fazbear Frights. In the epilogue of Book 8, a spirit named Jake uses the pain of a homeless man by drawing out a good memory from him. I think as a whole, the books and the movie make a point that the ghosts of the series, emotion, and memory are all manifestations of a similar type of energy. The point being, memories can heal, or at least they can relieve pain, as shown in the books. And this pain relief is something that I think ties directly into what these plushies lead into, the secret ending. Going forward, it's important to establish that the game becomes incredibly eccentric and metaphorical with its endings, and as such, my interpretations aren't fact. They're interpretations I made. I encourage you all to come to your own conclusions based on what you see, especially since the game literally just came out. That all aside, in the secret ending, we play the 4th Princess Quest machine, and within it, the old man takes the Vanny mask from us in exchange for Glitchtrap. We then bring Glitchtrap to Vanny, who promptly crushes him in her hands before she waves goodbye to us. In other words, we play as someone who is likely under Glitchtrap's control thanks to the Vanny mask, and as such, betraying him by selling him out to Vanny was likely a painful or fearful process, as shown to us by Jeremy in Help Wanted 1, who cuts his own face off, presumably after trying to resist Glitchtrap. This point is further interesting given the fact the achievement you get by collecting a memory is called Remember Jeremy. So maybe the entire point of collecting these memories was to ease the pain that we'd receive if we tried to fight Glitchtrap. But long story short, as I've said, this ending is to be taken metaphorically, if anything. Never was there a point where Vanny literally pulled Glitchtrap out of a claw machine, crushed him with her hands, and then waved goodbye to the tiny person who gave it to her. This ending is a metaphor for Vanny drawing out Glitchtrap by using someone else, and then killing the last bit of him. Wait, hold up, why did Vanny kill Glitchtrap anyways? One of the lingering questions of Ruin involved the Vanny graffiti placed around the building. If Vanessa was canonically freed, then why is Vanny still seemingly around? Well, I think this ending gives us our answer. This person in Vanny's costume is still Vanessa, he's just not under anyone's control anymore. He's taken her Vanny disguise and transformed it into a symbol of good. a symbol of destroying Glitch Trap. The graffiti we find in Ruin, she likely left when she and Gregory wanted to trap the Mimic, leaving her calling card around the building as a record of the day she imprisoned the monster in the basement. What's interesting to point out are these unused lines in the files of Help Wanted 2. We don't know who they are from, but my best guess is Vanny, given she's listed in the credits despite not speaking in the game. These lines seem to describe Vanny guiding someone, namely our player character, into bringing Glitch Trap to her. She even mentions that whoever we are, we have the last bit of Glitch Trap within us. It's worth noting that she mentions that the plushies are Glitch Trap's memories, so maybe I'm wrong in suggesting they're the memories of the dead children. Less cool that way, but hey, I can't deny what's written in fine print. With that explained, it's time to cover the other ending, and the one everyone likely stumbled upon first. After collecting all of the Fast Force figurines, you're met with a scene of Glitch Trap, yes Glitch Trap, emerging from a charging station before you get attacked by Nightmare staff bots. The scene then cuts to one referencing the start of Security Breach, taking the point of view of a robot that's starting up. When we wake up, we're looking down on Cassie, asking her to take a mask. An ominous sound plays as she slowly puts the mask on, and our vision goes dark. When I first saw this ending, all I could think was, why is the ending of this game showing us something we already know? Unless, of course, it's not something everyone knows. People have their different perspectives on what this ending means, and that's fair given it's displayed in a confusing way. One interpretation is that after seeing Glitch Trap wake up, the next scene cuts to his vision, what he sees inside of Maskbot as he passes it to Cassie. That's why her putting the mask on is displayed so ominously. There are other theories, of course, such as Maskbot being possessed by our player character, perhaps Cassie's dad, as we hand the mask over to her. This is supported by the fact that in Ruin, Maskbot appears organic when we have the mask on, unlike the rest of the staff bots. Also, he has rabbit ears, and Cassie's dad is associated with Bonnie. Again, it's all down to interpretation, and I encourage you all to come up with your own. This is just what's most convincing to me. I know some people have been claiming that this game seals the deal on Glitch Trap being the Mimic, and I'm inclined to agree. But I also get why other people don't get it and may still think it's Afton. But anyways, I'm not going to resolve any ending debates here. Speaking of which, before I can lay out my idea of this game's story, I'll need to decide who I think we play as in this game. Earlier on in this video, I pointed out some instances in some of the minigames that imply we play as an adult technician, someone who gave Roxy her mask and is apparently old enough to look as if they have kids. But something I want to make clear first is I don't think the minigames in this game are things that we actually physically do. I think much like how the plushies are memories of Glitch Trap, I feel like each one of these games are memories of either someone who was once controlled by Glitch Trap, or Glitch Trap himself looking through the systems of the Pizzaplex. Alongside that, I feel like some of these minigames are purely AI generated, going along with the Mimic's themes. Things like the theater food service minigame. Why would someone be working at the Pizzaplex after it already closed down? What I think is actually going on here is the Mimics combining actual work footage with footage of the Pizzaplex after it had closed down to make this new scenario of working there after the Pizzaplex was destroyed. But something I didn't mention is a secret Bonnie mask found in Princess Quest, accompanied by the phrase, "This looks familiar." This to me leaves two possibilities. One, this is Cassie, who vaguely remembers her dad owning a Bonnie mask, or two, her dad himself, who vaguely remembers having the mask at some point. And honestly, I'm leaning more towards Cassie's dad on this one. I feel like it makes much more sense a detail like this would be called out if this item was once owned by him. Some have long theorized Cassie's dad was the Bonnie mask bully in FNaF 4. Perhaps this reveal of a Bonnie mask is meant to connect us back to that theory. More reasoning I feel like we play as Cassie's dad are the connections he could have to the crazed Fazbear employee from Security Breach. In that game, we receive messages that an employee is working day and night, trying to glitch the machines and prove his worth to the princess so he can save her. What's interesting here is in this game, we do something similar, completing tasks to prove our worth to the princess, so that we can play Princess Quest 4. So with that covered, what about the endings? Which one do I think is canon? Well, both of them. Unlike other endings in past FNaF games, the two endings of Help Wanted 2 are notably not exclusive from one another. rather than taking alternate paths at the same point to get a different ending. These two endings are related to two separate actions, one of them being collecting the Fast Force figurines, and the other being collecting the memories. In other words, these endings sit side by side. But with that being said, how could it be that Cassie's dad gives up the Vanny mask to bring Glitchtrap to Vanny, yet he would later have to give up the mask to Cassie, perhaps by Glitchtrap's will? But what if these two endings are different tellings of the same event? Obviously, Vanny likely didn't destroy Glitchtrap by pulling him out of a claw machine and crushing him with her hands. This ending is likely a metaphor for what actually happened. Maybe the trade between Cassie's dad and Old Man Consequences never actually happened the way we see it in Princess Quest. The real trade that took place was the Vanny mask for Cassie's life. That is to say, giving up the Vanny masks by all means puts Vanny in a position to kill Glitchtrap, but by way of killing off the vulnerable person he's now trapped inside of, Cassie. With all this established, I wanted to revisit my final theory about the Candy Cadet story. Maybe the girl in this story is Cassie and the little boy is Vanessa. Perhaps it's telling us that Cassie really does die at the end of Ruin. And it wasn't Gregory or the Mimic alone who cut the elevator wires. It was Vanessa, possibly forcing Gregory's hand. Vanessa kills Cassie as a means to kill off Glitchtrap, perhaps hinted at in this game's ending. Vanny's waved goodbye to us, symbolizing how she left someone to die as an unwilling sacrifice in the scheme to destroy Glitchtrap. Even if she survived the fall, the Mimic would be waiting for her at the bottom of the elevator. The witch would finally get her meal. Now, there are some other technicalities or loose ends to cover, like why the Nightmarion plushies are found in this game too, or why the memories needed for the secret ending take the form of the dead children. That I'll leave as an exercise to the viewer. If it's not clear, at where we are now, my thoughts on this game's story are incredibly fluid. This is really just my first impressions based on all we know now. Who knows, maybe a few days from now I'll change my mind. But if I do, I'll have to wait. This year has been fantastic. Trying to make these videos on this channel was something I did at first to distract myself from a not so good situation. And now 4 months later, I've amassed over 4,000 subscribers and 400,000 views. That's a lot of fours. Anyways, thanks to everyone who's joined me this year. It's been a blast. I'm gonna take a break in the meantime though. I'll return sometime next year with some more theory fodder to put on your plates. Until then, happy holidays, and remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.